All right. Well, kind of doing a little something different today. As it's coming due, one of the assignments that you'll have to do throughout our time together is some case studies. And so, one of the things I wanted to do, the first two case studies that you do, you have to do a peer evaluation on them. So, I kind of want to give you an idea of here's the peer evaluation, here's what a case study should look like, and then here's what I'm looking for as well. So that you have a pretty good idea going in what to expect and kind of how to do it. The case studies that I'm going to give you, a lot of them are out of the three. I know two are probably 6 to 8 pages long. So so there is going to be some reading on the front end, and then you're going to have to prep for them to do well on them. The they are posted, or at least the first one's posted. I'll have the other two posted here shortly, so that you can start taking a look at them at least before you have to start writing. And you can use kind of be thinking about as we talk about these different discussion points throughout our time together. You can think about how you want to answer them. So one of the things I'm going to do kind of is to have you each evaluate other people. So when you submit your case study, one of the things at the 5 o'clock deadline, one of the things that will happen is that you'll be assigned to review somebody else's paper. And the idea is that you can go through and read it and make some suggestions to them and kind of give them feedback as far as how they did. Because then what's going to happen is you're going to give that feedback to them, then go back, make revisions, and then they submit the final draft to me. And somebody's going to be doing the same thing for you. So you want to make sure that you're doing a good job because you're helping somebody else, and then somebody else is helping you as well. What I'm looking for in the case study, and it kind of matches the rubric that I'm going to use, but I want you to look at the grammar, punctuation. Is it well written? Spend some time looking at it. And again, most times you can send it through Grammarly or even spell check and catch a lot of things. So if you see errors, make them aware of those errors so that they can make those corrections. They should have outside sources, and when they go through, they should have, the nice thing about these case studies, they'll give you some outside sources to look at to help you gather the information that you need to help make sound decisions. So take advantage of that. I mean, and that's not something that happens in real life. Here's a bunch of articles that you can look at, or here's a bunch of readings or resources that you can use to help. They're giving that to you. So take advantage of it, and then make sure you cite it in APA, in the paper, as well as in the reference page. One of the key things, and we've just talked about this in problem solving and ethical decision making, is to be able to identify the key problem or the key issues. That's before you can start problem solving or decision making. You've got to know what those, be able to identify. So, can you demonstrate the ability to understand what the issue is, and concisely tell the reader what that issue is? Like I said, the case study is going to be 6-8 pages. You got to kind of tell us in a short period, like a sentence, two, or a paragraph, what the key issues are. Best practices. This is where you take what the readings suggest and what the readings have told you and bring it back in to help you solve the problem. Okay, so I'm going to be looking in there. Do you have those outside resources in there? Have you developed a strategy for how you're going to handle the issue and be able to integrate those outside sources to help you? Okay, set the scene, highlight the background information. Again, 6-8 pages. I want it cut down into a paragraph. Tell me what the relevant facts are, what the issue is, and then we can move on from there. Okay, so I want you to be able to get concise with that. The other things we're looking for here, alternatives. Do you come up with multiple alternatives? Again, should come up with at least 3 to do a good job. If you don't have any alternatives, that means you need improvement, and you're going to have to go back and tell that author that they need to come up with some alternatives to help us make a decision. one easy alternative every time is do nothing. I mean, that's one alternative. May not be the best, but it is an alternative. Okay, so make sure you provide some alternatives, and then discuss. You know, explain why the alternatives were rejected, why they're not feasible or possible with this in this case study, and then it leads us into proposing that one good solution of what you're going to do to handle that particular situation. And so, you know, provide backup, provide support. That's where your outside readings. Also, the stuff that we do in class, you can refer back to it, particularly as we move forward and getting into the politics and power and the other, doing research and all those other things that can help you make good, sound decisions. You can provide information there. Help tell us why you made the decision that you made. Okay. Recommendations at the end is how you're going to implement that. One of the things of the problem solving, one of the last steps, or the last step of the problem solving is, or next to last, is to implement. And so how are you going to go about implementing that decision that you made? Who's going to do it? How they're going to go about doing it? What they're going to do? That should be included in there. And so as you read through, these are the things that you want to look for and give them feedback as far as how they're doing within those particular areas. And so I give you an opportunity to do that and give you an opportunity to provide them additional comments about their paper. Okay. Now, the other thing to keep in mind here is this is what I'm going to look at. 100 points for this. You get 50 points for doing your, or 25 points for doing your peer evaluation, 50 points for your first draft, so that's peer evaluated, and then you get potentially 100 points for your final draft. And you'll see that my rubric is going to follow very similar to what you saw with yours. Point values go up, but everything here just gives you feedback as far as what I'm going to be looking for whenever you're doing your case study. And so take advantage of that opportunity to get that peer evaluation. Look at what they have to say, take it and use it. Again, also stress to you, take it seriously when you do your peer evaluation. You get 25 points for that. You're helping somebody else get better, but you're also, peer evaluation, nice thing is it's another way to learn. And so you can take these points that I gave you and look to see how you can help somebody else get better. And one of the things I'll also provide you here, this is an example of a case study and one that one of my students did for the grad class. And so you'll see some of the comments that I made in here, but also I try to highlight the different parts of it. So you can see, this case study, 6 pages. I'm not expecting y'all to be that long, but do want you to cover all those aspects in there. So this first part that's highlighted, in that section, those first kind of 2 paragraphs is the person sets the scene and identifies the key issues. Okay, does a good job setting the scene. Again, this case study was probably 6 to 8 pages. He cut it down to 2 paragraphs where you can read what the case study was about, and you can also get an idea of what he kind of saw as being the issue or the problem there. Okay, this next part here sets the alternatives, and this individual does a good job of discussing what the alternatives are and throws in some citations and gives an idea of some best practices that we've talked about in class, but also through the readings that he had to do. And you can see my comments in there as well for some of those. And then get down here to the next part. Overall, the best approach in handling the problem would be to tell the coach, the vision and mission. So now you're talking about the best possible solution. He's throwing out here. I gave you my alternatives. Here's the best alternative. Okay. And then the next part here is the recommendation, how we're going to implement that best proposal, and who's going to do it, and how it's going to take shape. Okay. And so all the parts there are outlined in this paper. Try to highlight it for you and give you some, like I said, some comments in here. You just have to make sure you scroll through and look at it. You can also, I encourage you to read the case study so that you can see what this individual did. Also, last page is a reference page. I would say he had 3. Ideally, I'd like to see more than 3 sources in there. The one thing, and I wouldn't even say one of them's a source, because he just cited me from my PowerPoint notes. Well, that's not it. I mean, you get the information, and I get the information from somewhere else, and I share it with you. So you just have to find where that comes from. And a lot of times it's in the readings that I give you. So you just have to go back, and you can cite those readings that I gave you and the sources that I gave you for the readings. But and if you need information about those, let me know. But otherwise, don't cite me in my PowerPoint notes, okay? And you also don't have to cite the case study. So technically, this individual only had resource in there. So that's kind of not where we want it to be. Okay. Using APA format, again, alphabetize it. This individual didn't alphabetize by the author's first name, so ideally Bash should have been first, then Rocky, then White. Okay. But kind of gives you an overview of what I'm looking for. The case study, example case study, I'll put on there so you can take a look at it. It's a different one than what we're going to be doing, so again, I don't want you copying what he did, but it gives you an idea of what it should look like and how he went through it, and you can see the different components of the from the rubric compared to what's in there. So again, this will be due next week or towards the end of next week, but I wanted to give this heads up to you and give you an opportunity to start looking at it and start working on it and thinking about it. If you do have any questions, Wednesday is a good time to ask, or if you need it ahead of time, just shoot me an email and I'll assist you. All right. Well, thanks for watching the video, and I'll be talking to you soon. I think next lesson is going to be logic, and I think I'm going to post most of that using other videos, so you don't have to hear me talk about logic, but and I'll give you some activities to do there as well. So have a great